But suppose you do just what you like. Does that mean you're going to go out and shoot heroin, rob banks, and rape old ladies? The person who is counseling you not to just do as you like is making some remarkable presumptions as to what is likable. He seems unaware that people may not rob banks because they've considered the consequences and decided they don't like to. He doesn't see that banks exist in the first place because they're just what people like, namely providers of loans. Phaedrus begins to wonder how all this condemnation of what you like ever seemed such a natural objection in the first place. Soon, he saw that there was much more to this than he had been aware of. When people said, "Don't do just what you like," they meant obey authority. They also meant something else. This something else opened up into a huge area of classic scientific belief that stated that what you like is unimportant because it's composed of irrational emotions within yourself. He studied this argument for a long time, then knifed it into two smaller groups, which he called scientific materialism and classic formalism. He said the two are often found associated in the same person, but logically are separate. Oh, hello there. I didn't see you guys walk in. How's it going? Hey, Dan.
Leroy Jenkins.
How's
How's it going? How's it going, dude?
Good. Just reading a little Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. I'm not sure if you guys have read it yet. Obviously, I liked it. But it's a really interesting book about philosophy. Obviously, I'm not really arguing for do just what you want or against do just what you want. More in the middle, I think, most of the time is what he'd come to. But it's all about discussing things, breaking things down into their disparate parts, much like a motorcycle and a man on a motorcycle trip. So check that out if you haven't.
Very reflective book, is it?
Yeah, very thoughtful, very philosophical. Very, I would say, kind of long, lot of words. Philosophy, though. I mean, but it's one of those where you see the great title, you see the pink cover, and you just have to check it out. It's a great. I think it's a '70s classic, if I had to guess. Let's see. 1974, this edition. So pretty much, yeah, 74. Good book. Robert Pirsig, I guess.
The last book I read was Dominic Frisby. Well, it's an audio book. I re-listened to it, which is Dominic Frisby's Bitcoin: The Future of Money, which is a cool little book talking about, back in the day. I even visited Amir Taki, in a kind of, what's it called, when they take over a building, a squat. That's it. Yeah. So, very interesting book. Definitely worth a read.
Yeah, we did some live streams from Amir's squat right here on the World Crypto Network. You guys can go back and check the archives. Chris Ellis visited there. He showed us their Wi-Fi situation. As I recall, they had like a Wi-Fi, a receiver, but not a receiver. They had more of a directional device pointing at the building next door where they were borrowing the Wi-Fi. From there, it went down to a bunch of other things and distributed Wi-Fi from the entire building that they were borrowing. It was some kind of it was an office building that had been abandoned because of, I suppose, good times or bad times, depending on how you want to see it. I hear a lot of buildings in London are actually empty because they're rented by people that live overseas, and they're just buying it as an investment, a piece of London, not a working building or a real estate investment rental wise.
Like an empty URL.
Or an empty Gox.
An empty Gox, yeah. An empty Gox.
That's it. But I think it's time to get into Bitcoin here on Bitcoin Talk Show. Checking out the price of Bitcoin. I can barely see the monitor. The price of Bitcoin is up 0.21% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 3,992, a high of 4,029, and a low of 3,966. Looks like it might be inching up again, although who knows. The price of $1 in Satoshis is 25,051 Satoshis, just on the edge of the 25,000 Satoshi barrier, very far from the 15,000 Satoshi barrier we spent so much time at, or the 5,000 Satoshi barrier that seems like a ridiculous dream right now. Checking out the top 10 altcoins, Ethereum down 1.25%, Ripple unchanged, Litecoin down about 3%, EOS down 1.5%, Bitcoin Cash bucking the trend up 3.5%, Binance Coin breaking into the top 10, at least by volume traded, market cap down 2.25%, Stellar up 1.5%, Tether unchanged, and Tron down 1.5%. Checking out our top stories today, we saw a great thread on Twitter by Larry Cermak, head analyst bringing rationality to crypto at the block. Larry wrote a big, long post about Coinbase, and I just want to read some of it to you here. He says, "Today I wrote about Coinbase and why I think they have a very tough road ahead financially." He shows their revenue from trading commissions. It is down so far in 2019. Of course, we had a bear year in 2018. Everything's down. He's worried about Coinbase. They say their revenues were 100% transactional. So Coinbase needs you to move your money to buy and sell things for them to make any money at all. If you go there, buy Bitcoin, hold it. If you go there, buy Bitcoin, withdraw it, you don't really make the money company any money, despite the fact that they're very popular. As they say here, they had $1.3 billion of revenue in 2018, and whether they will hit their target in 2019 is unclear. So if they do not hit their target, they could have trouble entering into a public IPO. Remember, Coinbase would go public on the actual stock market, unlike Binance, which just kind of printed their own money and now is a Coinbase competitor. So it must be a very tough position for them to be in. We've referred to this since the beginning of Coinbase and the altcoins as the Crypsification of Coinbase. I know you guys don't remember Crypsy, but there was a time when there weren't that many exchanges. There was BTC-E, which is, we always thought of some strange Russian or Bulgarian underground exchange, and they disappeared just like everyone always said they would, although it took much, much longer. They were established exchange. There was them, there was a couple other, but then there was Crypsy. And Crypsy was like a shopping center for altcoins. They had them all. They had Earthcoin and TerraCoin and Darkcoin and Dashcoin and 42 Coin, the original OneCoin. They had Barbecue Coin, which worked at a restaurant in Kansas City. Oh, tokens are such a great idea. No, we had tokens back in 2013. But yes, you could buy everything on Crypsy. They even sold Crypsy fee shares, where you could get a cut of Crypsy's fees and you could invest in the exchange. And what a great idea. It's a lot like Binance Coin, I think. But that was the old days, and Crypsy was a regulated exchange, everyone thought, because they were in Florida. But then allegedly, and according to the lawyer who was prosecuting this and suing as well, Big Vern seems to have skipped out to China. David Silver, the attorney, he skipped out to China. He's gone. The money's gone. Crypsy's gone. And Coinbase, of all people, helped Crypsy launder the money. So Coinbase must have looking at that money, or they allegedly or they accidentally helped them, but you know where the money went. We can look at it. But Coinbase must have been sitting there saying, how did Crypsy get all that money? All these altcoins trading on the Crypsy, and Coinbase's eyes just turned into altcoin dollar signs, and they were like, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. And they invented the GDAX, and then the GDAX wasn't even enough. It was a good idea. Then they're like, we've got to have altcoins actually on Coinbase. We've got to have them right here. We need all the altcoins that we can get. And of course, that's what Crypsy did. And Crypsy either fell down allegedly because of a Lucky 7 coin that had a Trojan in their wallet that stole all the money from Crypsy, or maybe it was an inside job, allegedly. It seems Coinbase is falling down the other way, where they just burn all the money in a big fire. So we'll see how that goes. It looks like a good fire so far, so keep you warm. We put a poll out there. How long will Coinbase last? Coinbase ... We've got 54 votes so far. 31% say 6 months. 37% say 1 year. 32% say forever. So it is pretty close there. It's a pretty close poll, although many people think they'll only last another year. Remember, they are burning that money very hotly. They need to keep warm there at Coinbase. They are renting airplanes to keep on their runway. Dan, what do you think? Coinbase, are they going to have any trouble, or is this just a bunch of nonsense from some worry warts with some internet web page?
Well, I think, he's obviously gone through the trouble of doing some pretty good financial analysis on them. But I think if we think back to some other big tech companies, they didn't turn a profit or turn very little profit. And what gave it value was the network effect, and as far as I'm aware, Coinbase is still, I did some stats sort of the end of last year, and Coinbase accounts are still going up when I sort of tweet about it. So if they're still getting new accounts, if they're getting growth, then I think that's pretty important factor in seeing that they do well. They might come into trouble financially, but then they could get more funding based on the account growth, etc. And then obviously the other thing is they've got kind of not a first mover benefit, but they are certainly in the UK, for example, they're part of the Crypto Trade Board, so UK Crypto Trade Board with 7 companies altogether. So they're sort of in with regulators, and they're kind of, whether we see them or not as it be, whether depending on your kind of your crypto swing, they are a household name of crypto, and they are an easy place for you to buy and sell. So I think they could, once they start investigating other revenue streams, then I think that there's a lot of potential in there, as much as some people may hate it.
You mentioned growth, and for a startup, growth is key. And it's I can only imagine what it's like to work there at Coinbase. And I've had a similar experience working at a Bitcoin company where on the way up, you're on fire, right? You're putting out these marketing messages, they're getting retweeted, and people are buying your altcoins. And every new altcoin you add, thing goes up 10%. Your internal investors who bought it early, they did very well. Everything's great there, right? Everything, you're handling everything. And you think, in some ways, because of you're working very hard on this. You're putting out the tweets, you're designing the graph, you're making the thing happen. Then you go over this hump, this line in the sand where the Bitcoin starts going down and the altcoin starts going down. And then pretty soon, even the great Coinbase starts going down. Those reports, which you couldn't stop getting new users. And I know how it feels. We couldn't stop getting subscribers. You should subscribe below. You should give us a thumbs up and a share, because this is the downtime. This is the time where everybody disappears except the people who are going to stay. And that Coinbase and even the giant, even the great one who has the fancy office in the financial district in San Francisco and can afford it, who actually redesigned it. It has the cubicles and the see-through walls and the information screens on the board. You can put up all the charts you want, but when the trend turns against you, you can market as hard as you want. You can have more meetups and you can have the best speakers and whatever it is that Coinbase thought they were doing right before. The real truth is it probably wasn't you before, and it's probably not you now. When you're in a thing like the Bitcoin thing, and whether you like it or not, Coinbase, you're still in the Bitcoin thing, even though you've got all those graphics confusing people and saying, you can invest your Bitcoin in garbage. You can use your amazing gold to buy pink slip, fly by night. We don't know if they're valuable or not stocks. Not a good job, not taking care of your customers, but obviously, remember, we've already said Coinbase's revenue is transactional. So this is what we talked about years ago when there was the spam attack and we were fighting over the network and we were talking about Lightning Network. We said some people need Bitcoin to be fluid. They need it to be time. Those people are Coinbase. When people stopped moving their money because it was so expensive and they temporarily stopped using Bitcoin as a currency and they worked on other solutions like the Lightning Network where we can make it fluid without transaction fees, they started to picture a future without Coinbase. And as sad as it is, this matrix is moving so fast. Just a year ago or whatever, Coinbase was the unstoppable billionaire unicorn. And now this guy puts out a series of tweets questioning your financials. And ooh, there's a crack in the armor. Now, I'm not saying it's permanent or it's fatal or anything. They can certainly turn this around. They have more than enough resources. But the current plan isn't looking too good. The fire is getting bigger. It's out of control, and it might spread to the whole house. So if you guys want to give us a call right now, tell us your thoughts on Coinbase. We're going to open up the phone call lines. You can call us on Skype. Jinx, now you owe me a Coke. Call us on Skype, World Crypto Network, all one word, or at 518-600-1949. You can put a 1 in front of that if you're not in the United States. But we've got the phone calls working. We've got the globe up. We'll try to put your location on the map. You can just say a city. You don't have to say your address or any kind of personal information, or you could just say you're from Florida. That's fine. Whatever works. Nicholas in the chat says he's sick of people downing Coinbase. Well, why don't you call in, Nick, and give him some defense? Obviously, Coinbase isn't and he's lost all objectivity. Sounds like a Bcash fan out there. Going to the cursing. Remember, the easiest way to make yourself look like a fool on the internet is to go to cursing, or maybe to do that thing where they mention Hitler. Although, you know, if you're talking about World War II, you have to talk about World War II. But yeah, no, it's fun. We had Roger Ver defending Coinbase, and he was saying how great it was that they'd spread the word about Bitcoin early on. And I do think that they did good work early on, but I can't keep giving them credit forever. Unfortunately, and I certainly know this here in the world of podcasts and YouTubes. The world's a lot of, what have you done for me lately? And lately, Coinbase has advertised altcoins. They've excited the market. They continue to add altcoins. They have 28 more altcoins that they wanted to add out of a total of 31. So, which is fine. They can run their business how they want to run their business. But for those of us who remember the good old days when Coinbase was just Bitcoin and promoted Bitcoin and even sponsored Bitcoin meetups and tried to encourage the community, it's a far cry from the current website. It's a complicated mess of an interface. It's very difficult for a normal user to understand what they're buying, what they should be buying. And I just think that's part of the problem. They've complicated their mission. They used to have a simple mission, Bitcoin to the masses. Now, this altcoins, all this other, which is fine if you want to buy those things, but it's just complicated. Go ahead, Dan. What do you think?
Yeah, you know, I think they're diversifying as a business, and maybe a lot of the hate comes from hardcore Bitcoiners that you know, that see Coinbase as the, you know, the old school. You know, Coinbase is a term from the Bitcoin code. And you know, they kind of see that relationship with Bitcoin, you know, being kind of ruined a bit by you know, having different cryptocurrencies. But I think you're going to have that hatred anyway from hardcore sort of Bitcoiners who you know, really don't like anything other than Bitcoin. So yeah, I mean, like, I overall, I must admit, I got a few people involved in crypto by getting them onto Coinbase because it was just really easy at the time. And I, you know, I don't use it myself, but I used it a few times back in, you know, a couple of years ago, and it was, you know, mediocre, you know, okay experience. So, yeah, at the end of the day, they're kind of, as long as they do good in the world, then yeah, the market will keep on buying these different shitcoins. Wait, that didn't make any sense at all. But as long, you know, I think I don't think they're going to have a problem with their business. I think they might have problems, you know, with the short-term fundamentals, but I think the value of the business as a whole, you know, is going to keep them afloat.
Well, yeah. And you mentioned that Bitcoin changed. And remember, Coinbase was against this change. They tried to stop SegWit from getting adopted. They tried to stop the Bitcoin developers from essentially over the Bitcoin code. And it's because of what we talked about this morning. Coinbase's business is transactional. For them, Bitcoin needs to be the world's most active currency. And remember, currency, the word comes from current. It's to flow. It is a thing that's flowing. And I forget the Greek's name, but the historian, one of the first historians, who stood in the river and noticed that the river just kept flowing, and he stood there. You can't be the person that stands in the river. You have to be the river if you want to be currency. And in order for Coinbase to make money, they needed people to be moving Bitcoin all the time. And I don't think that people were moving enough Bitcoin Then the fees got too high and it got really bad. If you look at the other side, where the fees are solved on Lightning Network, where is the space for Coinbase and their transactional profits? There is no space. There's a new space for companies that are lending Lightning or making purchasing power available, which as we've discussed with Nick Bhatia right here on the World Crypto Network, check those out there. You can search for the time value of Bitcoin. You can actually lend out Lightning without losing control of your Bitcoin, which is the world's first investment that you can give away while you still completely possess. That's a complicated process. There's a lot more into that. So Coinbase could make small profits there, but it's not going to pay for a giant office in San Francisco. It's not going to pay for the luxury items, and it's not going to excite the IPO investors. The IPO investors want growth, 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 profits. And Coinbase felt so good on the way up. And you got to imagine they did all this organization. They had all the teams. They hired the Ivy Leaguers. They had the hardcore crew. They were all throwing down hard, drinking the Starbucks. And it was going great. And they didn't IPO fast enough, I would say, if we look at this from hindsight, obviously. They didn't sell out and do an altcoin. It looks like that's obviously the way to go now if we look at the history here. I discussed this several times with Tone. I told him they'll probably change the laws. It horrified him, right? He was furious. They're legal, they're scams, they're legal. And I said, they'll change the laws. They'll normalize this. Now, I didn't invest properly in the garbage, but the garbage all went up and it got really huge and they normalized it. They've normalized and accepted the scammier elements amongst us. So Coinbase seems to have missed the boat. This could be a fatal distraction here. We have destruction here. I mean, we have Bitmain on one side of the ocean over there in China, clearly in trouble. Jihan Wu, the CEO, in trouble, on his way out. The company's IPO not looking good. Hidden financials when they were exposed. Bad news, going down. And now over here in the US, we got Coinbase not looking so good. Could this be the end for Coinbase? Give us the call. We'll talk about it. Dan, what do you think? And then I think we'll move on to the next topic. See what else we've got here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just kind of thinking to myself. I asked myself the question, and maybe it's because I'm kind of sat on the fence about their recent activity compared to their good versus evil sort of thing, the yin and the yang. But if I ask myself the question, would I rather see Coinbase die as a company, then I'd say no, because I think that would look bad for the whole ecosystem. And as much as they can be hated on because looking bad because of the people with the secretive stuff. What was the company called? So I've just seen Nicholas S. in the thing.
Coinbase acquired a company called Neutrino that employed members of the hacking team who used to work for dictators, who exposed journalists who performed human rights violations, and they told their customers to be fine with this. They told them we needed to hire them because the previous company was leaking our data. So they hired hackers who worked for dissidents in human rights violations. They were leaking data. And more importantly, Nicholas, I'd like you to look at the chart that I put on the screen. Revenue from trading commissions in 2018, 1.2, I think is that a billion or $1.2 million, whatever it is. Then down here, $500 million. So their trading is cut in half. So if you're a startup and you're trying to grow, these first two numbers are fantastic. Look at 2016. They've got nothing. Look at 2017. Almost, that's a billion, right? That's almost $1 billion in revenue. Then 1.2 billion. Now 500 million. So not good for Coinbase based upon the charts and the actual money. So their projected revenues are down by half. Yes.
2017 was.
I know. I can read the troll too. 2019 goes down by half in the projections. So what they're saying is that as bad as 2018, where they had record-breaking profits were, they're going to have half that. Trust me, dude. You don't want to be the growth guy where you're saying, hey, we're going to have half of our growth next year and we're going to go into an IPO. Nice. Nice one. And again, we still have that runway and that office and all that staff burning that money. So
well, yes. But remember that it's the halvening in what, May 2020. So if 6 months is where there starts to be a hike, there could potentially be a, like Christmas. You know how like some businesses make all their money at Christmas. Maybe the 20.
That's another thing a guy said in the chart. He said they make all their money in November, December, and this is actually a problem. He said that yes, this kind of like limited trading volume is not what you want to see. Because it's too spiky. He's like, right here, their 2017 revenue, 61% came from just 2 months. In 2018, 55% of the revenue came from the first 3 months of the year. So as much trouble as the rest of us may be for, holding Bitcoin and losing money or whatever, Coinbase is as in much trouble, and he's gone. So Coinbase is in just as much trouble. And they're a massive company, a billionaire unicorn driven by the best people in the industry who apparently didn't see this coming or don't have a good enough plan. And their revenue is currently. So yes, if there is a massive bull run because of the halvening, it could save Coinbase. But right now they'd have to double. And if you really want to talk about growth, triple their projected revenue. So do you have a magic wand or a formula that can triple Coinbase's projected revenues? Give us a call right now. SKYPE World Crypto Network or 1-518-600-1949. There's a difference between censorship and moderation. Look it up. CoinDesk market. Bitcoin has major resistances in the $4,200 area. The 200-week exponential moving average is there, as well as long-term downtrend resistance. A break above on high volume would be very bullish, but it will not be very easy. We've not seen any real high volume in the recent rise. We've seen pretty average volume. If you look at that right there, not seeing very much on the lower part of this chart. You can see the volume, and it's looking like Bitcoin's having another decision point where it goes into the 4,200s, and we see how it goes. As I said, it will not be easy, and I said nobody said it would be easy. So now we're on to another hot and exciting story, an exclusive from Breaker Mag, because they read Twitter like you do, and a couple days later they publish the tweets. So let's just check out some of these tweets that they found on Twitter, and of course, we found days ago. CoinGeek founder Calvin Ayre says Cuban dancers are adults. Nothing he posts is controversial. And they have the photo here from the Calvin Ayre tweet, drinking rum with a Cuban dance team in Havana. And several of the girls looked very young. Then there's a picture of them dancing with their butts out, which he later claimed was just national Cuban dancing. That's just the way they dance there. And you got an 80-year-old man with these young dancers. A lot of people on Twitter said it was wrong. And then they showed other beach parties. Calvin Ayre is a major investor in Ethereum, as I recall, I think. Now he's into Bitcoin SV, whatever that is, Bitcoin child molester, some kind of thing, allegedly. Allegedly, his PR representative contacted, says Ayre was aware of the dancers' ages, what their relationship is. And then really the best part right here, and again, this article is just all tweets. Journalism is just linking and quoting tweets now. So you could just read Twitter yourself, is what I'm saying. Calvin Ayre was written back to by John McAfee. Much respect to Mr. McAfee. John McAfee says, John McAfee here, as unsolicited advice from the king of badass. This is a dark alley you are wandering down. Unfortunately, by your association to the crypto world, you are dragging us down with you down that alley. You are a bright man. Pause for a moment and look at your reality. So this is pretty crazy when you got John McAfee calling you out and saying that maybe you shouldn't be enjoying the cultural experience of watching how ladies love to the Caribbean. And
hang on, sorry, didn't John McAfee partake in a particular other tradition involving whale holes?
I don't know anything about that.
What have you not hear about it? Like, oh,
no,
it's like
well,
he
I mean,
did loads of tweets.
I don't. John, he did tweets. If he said it,
no, he said it. He was joking around.
People
but
can go. I don't know. People can go watch that Netflix movie about McAfee if they want to. But just again to have McAfee, who allegedly went down south, ran into some problems with some locals, had some problems there. He's talking from experience here, and he's kind of warning Calvin Ayre, and Calvin Ayre just brushes him off. Seems to have no. Okay. All right. Well, I don't know what this one's about, but Dan's got a great tweet here from John McAfee that the audience wants to read. The audience says, John McAfee, enough of the whale fucking is non-consensual bullshit. A humpback whale weighs 70,000 pounds, is 50 feet long, can dive more than a quarter mile, and can crush ships with a single wipe of its tail. If a human manages to fuck one, you damn well better believe it's consensual. So there you go. But no, John McAfee's been quite a character for some time. Quite a lot of things. Of course, when you invent antivirus and make $100 million, you can be quite a character too, is what I imagine. And sure, I watched the documentary, but to have a Calvin Ayre called out by John McAfee is really quite a thing. Because it's just he's so extreme to begin with, and what Calvin's doing is obviously he's even scaring McAfee. He's even getting a warning from a man that's been there. So hopefully he can turn that around. It is embarrassing to crypto, even if he is associated with Bitcoin. So what? Whatever they're calling it, Bitcoin sucks vite. I don't know what the SV stands for.
I think even if they are like legal age, it does look dodgy. The twerking thing when we're trying it in a world where we're trying to kind of promote a bit more kind of equality and stuff like that. Maybe he also has male twerkers. I don't know. But McAfee certainly with that slapdown, he's clearly watched and taken very much notice of the Gillette advert, being like, "Yo, dude, perhaps you'd better not." But yeah, looks pretty bad. I mean, there's some of the pictures of those girls. They may be over 18, but they don't look it. And I don't know whether he asked for ID. I'm not saying anything,
There's been so many stories in the news, so many people being broken open. Robert Kraft recently, the owner of the New England Patriots, was caught in a Florida, I don't know, brothel. Not even, it's a massage parlor, I guess. The accurate is best. Trafficking and allegedly underage girls. So this does keep happening with the very rich, and allegedly Calvin Ayre is very rich. We got a great quote from the Daily Stoic. The greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, which hangs upon tomorrow and loses today. The whole future lies in uncertainty. Live immediately. Seneca. And maybe that's something they're doing. Maybe they're living immediately. Maybe they're taking Seneca's Stoic words to heart. I saw a shop in the casino recently. It was called Karma and Luck. You could buy your karma and your luck right there. So if things weren't going well for you at the casino, just go to the shop and spend your money. It's really great to see at the casinos. They're always full of shops. So even if you do happen to win money, you may as well just spend it there. Why take that money home? Just leave it all in the casino. A very sad story. Dick Dale, legendary guitarist, author of Miserlou, the song from Pulp Fiction, a lot of the inventor of surf music, the incredible driving guitar music of the 60s, inspired the Beach Boys, other artists, had to keep performing until the end of his life. He was a cancer survivor twice. He had to pay for very expensive medicine, $3,000 in a month on top of his health care. It's a sad story that he passed away. I think he was 81 years old. Quite a long time to live. He certainly made a lot of money in his life, wrote some incredible songs. but maybe lost all his money, maybe spent it, maybe did a bad job. But it's sad to see when even a rich and famous, well-respected person has to keep touring, keep working until the end to pay his medical bills. This is something that FDR spoke about in the 30s and 40s when they were launching Social Security and other national retirement type programs to try to take care of people and to care for them. And it's sad to see these systems continue to fail and for people, even well-off, well-known people, to fall through the cracks. So just I didn't want to go into the political thing. I know you guys are probably against what you would call socialized healthcare, and the rest of the world calls saving money on healthcare by combining it together so that the unhealthy pay for the healthy and the healthy pay for the unhealthy, and back and forth, and they combine it together. Dick Dale was 81 years old. But Dan, you live in a country with social medical, whatever it is. Would you allow this to happen? Would they allow a rock star to have to work till he's 81? Which, again, it's cool to want to work. Like Tom Petty, on the other hand, never stopped touring. Tom Petty just like touring. He just wrote albums, made tour, wrote albums, made tour. Whoop, his heart went out. And it's a kind of a beautiful story of a man loving his work. And the same kind of thing, sadly, now, I think for Alex Trebek. He has, I think, pancreatic cancer, but he's going to work Jeopardy till the end. He is defined by his job. He has put himself into it in a way like Mr. Rogers did, just that he is wholly the truth of his job. And when he goes out, we'll say, Alex Trebek hosted Jeopardy. Dick Dale played guitar. This is Tom Petty wrote songs. I mean, these are, it's not the worst thing. I mean, if they pull it up, they have to have that pressure, and that they had no choice. And like he said in the article, they asked him, they're like, do you want to go fishing? Do you want to have a day off? Do you want to, have a cabin or something? And he kind of did. He's an old man. I mean, he loved playing guitar, but he kind of wanted a little cabin or something. I know my friend was telling me in Amsterdam, he's like, yeah, those are little garden houses that they give to the old people. And then the old people have a little garden house and they can sleep in it and they can work their garden. I was like
little gnomes.
What? Like, yeah, like you give, and you give too. Also give, like that. Every old person should have a nice little garden house. Like what? Every old, like, why not just leave them on the street till they freeze to death? I mean, wouldn't that's what we do, right? So no, Dan, would they freeze him to death in the UK? Is it better? I know there's ups and downs, and there's pluses and minuses to all these systems.
Yeah. But, well, so like my girlfriend was actually just in hospital for 3 days, and you don't have any worry of bills, paying for anything, any of that concern. You don't have to worry about not wanting to go to the doctor because you have to pay for it, or that side of things. So it does obviously have, and she had some really good treatment and really good care. There's a few kind of holes in process, but the actual people, all the staff, are absolutely brilliant. They're really sound and really nice, and so I don't know. It's something that we've lived with as a complete kind of from day one. I've never had to pay for medical, so for me, it's something that I can't even begin to think about having to pay. But at the same time, the care that I have got, when I was working for a FTSE 50, I had private healthcare on top of it. And I must say the private healthcare was, free coffee and shit like that. And so you definitely get what you pay for. But yeah, I don't know. It's a definitely, it seems like a luxury that we've got here that, we don't have to pay for our healthcare that other people don't have.
Over here, even to spend a night in the hospital is terrifying financially. Like that your girlfriend spent 3 nights there. We'd worry. We'd be like, are you out 1,500? Are you out like $5,000? Like, how much more do you have to pay? Not to mention that I already have to pay personally as a self-employed entrepreneur, or whatever you call it here. I'm paying for my healthcare directly. About $5,000 a year that I don't have, that I have to pay. And that's just the base. As Dick Dale said, his specialized treatments, which again, this is a rare occurrence. Most people don't need this. Some people need this. They were costing him much, much more on top of that. So yeah, it's a completely different system, top to bottom. And yes, you might not get but your general care is better. I mean, the outcomes are better. I think we have to look at healthcare and we have to say, should healthcare be a thing where it makes a lot of people money, or it should be a thing where we try to get the best outcomes? And the best outcomes are from preventative care. The best outcomes are from actually treating people before the problem gets out of hand, actually having yearly appointments, things like that. That's where we get the best outcomes. Additionally, we should ban all private prisons. So it's not over yet. We have a lot more political issues to discuss, but people love to debate, Medicare, Medi-Cal, government, healthcare, these kind of things. These are options. Remember, Congress and the Senate has fantastic healthcare, and if you're elected to the Congress or the Senate, you also get fantastic healthcare for life. So it's pretty sweet. I'll bet you can ask Nick, what's his name, Newt Gingrich, how you like your healthcare, Newt. I'll bet it's still pretty good for him. We take care of our senators and Congress people. It's just too bad that all Americans can't be members of Senate or Congress. But wait, they could pass a bill and they could just give us Congress and Senate's healthcare. But that's not really what we're here to talk about.
Just very quickly, while we're on the old musicians, two jokes that crease me up about what's his name, Keith Richards. Who I saw Keith Richards. Well, they're in their 70s. I saw them in Glasgow about 2-3 years ago, and they were still rocking hard. Keith Richards, he seems to be immortal. And so, two funny jokes that I do like is that one of them is that for every cigarette you smoke, God takes away an hour from your life and gives it to Keith Richards. And then we need to start worrying about what kind of world we're going to leave for Keith Richards, because he is just an immortal musician, it seems.
Definitely, I think so. And I think he's starting to get to the point where he's going to outlive his children. And then the Stones are still touring. And did they make a deal with somebody? But the best Keith Richards joke I saw was on Saturday Night Live once. They had a Keith Richards, somebody was playing him and he was impersonating him. He's like telling, it was like a kitchen show. He was teaching you things. So he's like, what I do is I make my ice cubes out of booze. That's why when they melt, I've got more booze.
Yeah.
And even though later on I learned that alcohol wouldn't melt because of the temperatures and melting points and so forth, but great idea. Ice cubes made out of booze. And you get more booze. Going back to Bitcoin, we had some excitement on Twitter, likely due to brigading of false reports, the way that you can just mark someone as spam 100,000 times and then Twitter has to say, wow, there's 100,000 spam marks. I better look at this. Adam Back was temporarily suspended from Twitter. They said this account is temporarily restricted. So we put some tweets out about this, tried to tell Jack what was going on, reminded him that we could use an edit button on Twitter. Even just to fix typos would be great. Later on, Adam Back got his account back, and he said that it could be due to commenting onto this thread after someone tagged him. It's almost like they don't want Lightning to succeed. And it looks like they were talking about how the Lightning Network is quote unquote becoming too large for the network. But whether it's actually too large for the network or too large for the network right now because we're testing it and because we don't want people to lose large amounts of money if there was a mistake or a bug or an error. I think he was weighing in on that. And he might have pissed off the Bitcoin Cash people who irrationally hate Lightning and don't like new technology and would rather stick their heads in the sand and maybe have the Cuban dance team of underage girls dance in front of them, which is a bad look. But this was an interesting story, and it was great to get Adam back on Twitter and not to have him removed. Dan, what do you think about the Adam Back story? I mean, again, just another kind of a minor thing, but we did also, to cover this a little bit more, we found a website called shadowban.eu, where I was able to certify that Mad Bitcoins, which you follow me on Twitter, was not banned. You can get me in all of the search suggestions, searches, threads, QFT. What looks like Adam Back, at least at the time of this search, was banned from search suggestions, banned from searches, banned from threads, and banned from searches. I'll bet if we redo this search, he's back now. But it's an interesting tool to check out, this shadowban.eu. I don't believe in the shadow banning that much. I thought that was an error, but go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, just checked it. He's good. He's all clean.
All
Adam,
right, he's back.
back,
So yeah, it was just during the downtime
Adam's
that he was
back.
temporarily removed. But it's kind of neat to be able to search that and to check that. And it was an interesting story, and of course they fixed it. But Dan, was it a evil conspiracy or just a temporary road bump?
Well, it was just another harsh delisting, as it were. It was like they just like, I don't know. I think it's speculation, but yeah, you're right. I think it's people just like not liking Lightning, and kind of got together and group reported it. But at least he's back. Glad to have you back, Adam. Back. I think I saw the comment earlier actually underneath that said, "Glad to have you back, Adam," which I thought was cool. None of your business. Yeah.
Fun. Yes,
cool
it's
beans.
good to have him back. It's probably nothing, but if only Adam Back had his own altcoin, he could have not been delisted. He would have, just bought his own Twitter, and he could have made it go up and down. And if we only had our own altcoins for each individual human being, that would have changed everything. He never would have been delisted.
He could have used a block hash to prove his existence.
That's what he needed. He was banned from the public networks. But we've got a great story over at Coinbase. Huge sensational title. Everyone click on this. Click. This is for all you religious people. This is a clickbait title for you. I got the mark of the beast, and it will hold my Bitcoin. I'll bet they spent days on that. I'll bet they had a whiteboard and they were debating about that. But we've got an article here from Bailey Rutzel. She's written some Bitcoin articles before. What happens when you need an MRI? You die an excruciating death. Actually, they remove them painfully quickly, or the machine does. Ha ha ha. But she got a little piece of metal stuck into her hand, based after Mark Bitcoin from the Netherlands, who has a microchip in 2014. Of course, I've met Martin several times, good guy.
Yeah.
And interviewed him right here on the World Crypto Network several times about his chips. So this is hardly new. This is more journalists copying and doing what people have done before. But let's get into it. What has Bailey done here? That's a bit of a stretch. She is slightly augmented. They're going to put a small tube into her, similar to the tubes that they put inside of dogs or cats, so that they can put that microchip in there. It's a near field communication chip. So if you hold the thing up to it, you can scan it. You can also see it physically. You can move it around. Martin's showed me his. It's really interesting. And you can poke it around. And, Martin's had his since 2014. He didn't get sick or die. So he didn't get an infection from the chip. That's your main potential problem as a human being, continue to live your life. Your other problem, of course, once people know that you have this chip, is they want to take control of you so they can control the Bitcoin that you put on this chip. It's a potential security problem. But as long as you only put, $10 on there or something, use it for minor spending, it should be fine. I think Martin's actually got multiple chips now. He was showing me last time. This one's my Bitcoin. This one's the Litecoin. This one opens the door in my house. All that kind of thing. Which again, if you had his hand, you could open the door in his house and you could get his Bitcoin and Litecoin. But I don't think he keeps anything on there. And even then, recently he said he was just keeping a business card on there. So if you hacked his chips, you could steal his business card. But it's an interesting article. Go ahead, Dan.
Sorry, I was going to say this is an interesting time to segue briefly, because I think, well, not segue, but just link in my little story about. So I got the S10, nice little phone actually. It's pretty ninja. Takes beautiful pictures. Got some cool stuff. It's got the biometrics in the thing. It is a bit funky, but good phone though. I haven't fiddled about with private keys
under the screen. Apple can't do that. And this is the one that has the Ethereum wallet, and it can do crypto kitties, but it can't do Bitcoin.
Yeah.
someday.
I think there is this is where things get interesting. So if I get my old phone and get, it's going to be difficult to kind of show you. I think you can see it. There's a dodgy picture of me from last night when I was fiddling around. And so what I need to do is switch it in so that it can't see me. So if you see now, there's a, it might say like, you know, press to retry or something. So I'm going to press it and then show my face to. It's not going to work, I reckon. Done.
Oh,
unlocked using my face on another phone. So I don't think I'll be putting my private keys on there anytime soon. And
that is not good. That is I know the
Dogs
Apple
were
one
fuming
actually
about that.
dogs were furious at Samsung for the security problem. I know that the Apple one actually scans a 3D, like a sonar model of my face, is how I think of it anyway, that it's got the shape of my cheekbones and it does, you know, whoopity woo. I don't know if the Samsung one has that. I've not seen the Apple one faked so easily. Horrifying to the audience that you held up a picture of yourself and you held up your phone and you unlocked them. Are you a super secret hacker? How'd you do this? Are you going to take your fingerprint with a piece of tape next? What happens next?
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know about the under sort of scanning thing, but you know, it's pretty cool. I mean, the difference is though the S9 had an iris scanner. So as far as I'm aware, you can't.
That's even more creepy. This is like a creepiness competition. I'm already creeped out by mine because I did get the new phone and I got the iPhone with the facey thing, and I'm creeped out by it. But boy, does it work good. You look at that thing, flip it up, and it's like open. It's amazing. So iris scanner, they're going down a list of like things that I'm afraid of from the like New World Order or whatever. Iris scanner, fingerprint scanner, facial recognition. Like, don't they have one that I can unlock with my DNA? Which is really bad because that's actually how I want my watch to unlock.
Probably.
I want my watch to like, gosh, I don't know. I would hate it if it pricked me every time or something, but like a little acupuncture needle or something, like your DNA is matched. Your watch automatically unlocks. And then my computer automatically unlocked then my thing, which again, huge security problem. Wave my hand unlocks, hold my face up to my phone, it unlocks, but you can do it with a photo. So we're going forwards, backwards, and sideways all the time. I just don't think this is going to work.
It's not good. Although from my testing, I do go back to my, because I used to be a software tester back in my early days. And so I'm always quite kind of, I like fiddling around on stuff and messing around. And I also found, I think I moaned about this during my proof of work, but I found the issue with the Trezor seed card disintegrating. So yeah, hopefully that's one in. Oh no, I didn't get anything cool like that. Oh no, yeah. So one in 2018, one in 2019. I'm happy with that about the Samsung fix, although they are probably aware of it. But yeah, I like fiddling. What can I say?
Yeah, I have much the same thing, but I just break things by putting too much in them. Oh, how many photos can it handle? Oh, I'll break that.
Yeah.
Oh, how many videos can it handle? Oh, broken. Like that's the way I break things. But yeah,
like Mary Poppins' bag.
Yeah, it's bigger on the inside than on the outside. But yes, it's so funny with the facial scanning and the phones and the new technology, and you can just unlock it with a picture. But moral of the story, to go back to Bitcoin, put a PIN number on your wallet. The wallets have a setting where you can have a PIN to log in, or you could have a secondary password if you want to withdraw money from the account, or maybe even a limit. Like if you want to withdraw more than $100 worth of money, you have to put the secondary password in, because what we're saying here is that the front door might be wide open, but you can still have several hurdles in between there to keep a hacker or even your children or your friends from getting your Bitcoin on your phone, because you're sung, which is so lauded for having a secure chip. So there's I don't know the technical details, but just as a layman, there's a secure chip on there, and they put your private key in the secure chip. And then like the other program, like Pinball or whatever, can't get access to the secure chip that's directly linked to your Bitcoin wallet software that gets your little private key and makes it work. But if you can hold up a picture for, sadly, the president, well, I guess the president has an iPhone. which is insecure for other reasons. So we dodged that one. But for, fancy CEOs, other people probably have these awesome Samsung phones. And there's certainly people out there on their IT staff right now. You want to pull a trick for your CEO? You want to impress him? Show him a picture and hack his fancy brand new phone. Actually, if I were you, I'd make a bet with him first. I'd say, I'll bet you I can open your phone with a picture, and you have to buy me a new Samsung phone so that I'm fancy like you. Make the bastard give you some money. And yeah, $1,500. Tell him it's impossible. Tell him like all about how the scans your face and it's iris recognition. They have fingerprints and irises, and they have bankers using these phones. You can't just open it with your picture. But I just saw it here myself. So that's really interesting, Dan. You're breaking news here. And break into your Ethereum wallet and steal all your crypto kitties. All I need is a picture of you. It's pretty easy.
I'm wondering, I was thinking, how can you kind of mitigate against that other than making it obviously not accept a picture? But even if you could hack one measurement, maybe it would be cool if you could have a choice to be extra secure where it would do your fingerprint. It would only do it with your fingerprint and your face. So it's like a dual 2FA, sort of a dual sort of, I don't know, that could be something useful. Or you get emailed a code every time you get in your phone.
Yeah. No, you could hack that too. You just control the email first. But I thought the whole point of biometrics, something you are, something you have, something you know, like those are the categories of things. So something you are, eye color, face shape, fingerprint, something PIN number, password, thing like that. Something you have, like your keys or a key fob or a thing that goes together with the thing. That's pretty much it. You can have all three of those, and then they can all still be broken and beaten. And remember, you can beat them all with like a $10 wrench. So, but we do the best we can for security. Like I was saying with the PIN number, you're just putting more steps in their way. So you can hack your mind unless they have a wrench. Speaking of hacking, I'm going to drink some more water here before I read this. I talked too much already today. How hackers pulled off a $20 million Mexican bank heist. And it's pretty interesting, and you get all excited when you read the headline. But it's turned out it's mainly about backdoors. The hackers snuck into the banks. They waited around. They looked at the way that the banks worked, and then they figured out that they could create dummy accounts, transfer millions of dollars to those accounts, send in a quote-unquote cash mule to pick up the cash, and walk right out of the bank with the money. So the real lesson here, Mexican banks are insecure in the back end. That doesn't sound right. But yes, once again, if the banks were using Bitcoin, or if the banks even had what I had here with this, having a password, having a PIN number, having a little key fob, having your face, having this series of things that people have to go through, it sounds like once they got into the back end, they just moved the money around and then they stole it. Interesting connection to this story. No videos. I hate you, Reuters. Exclusive. Beto O'Rourke belonged to major hacking group as a teenager, and the presidential candidate, former congressman from Texas, recently lost his Senate race for Texas against Ted Cruz. Used to be under the pseudonym Psychedelic Warlord, and wrote articles and essays for the Cult of the Dead Cow. This is pretty impressive and amazing here. First of all, how did we learn about this? Why did we not learn about it sooner? Well, a gentleman is writing a book about the Cult of the Dead Cow, and now, of course, I want to read that book. And he made a deal with them that he would not release it until after the Senate race was over. The CDC had Beto as a member in good standing, and they wanted to protect his reputation and have him try to win his Senate race. Although after that point, the guy's going to write the book. The book's going to be published. I don't think they knew about this presidential race that he went after right away. But there's been mixed reaction in the media. I watched a little of Morning Joe this morning, and they were pretty much horrified that he was in the hacker group. They weren't seeing it as a good thing at all, or even a potentially a good thing. I think a lot of people online have been talking about the way that Beto uses the media, the way he talks to the media, and that part of his hacking skills in hacking the media have moved over to his ability to create a political campaign. Overnight, over the weekend, he announced he's running for president, and he raised $6.1 million, more than Bernie Sanders, who only raised $5.9 million, way more than Kamala Harris or Kristen Gillibrand, who only raised a few $1,000,000, probably less than Joe Biden, who will probably raise more when he announces he is the mainstream frontrunner candidate right now, even though he hasn't announced. Beto O'Rourke, now a serious hacker. This is just, I don't know, you guys, I have to explain to you who the CDC was, who the cult of the dead cow was. Around 1999, 2000, there were no virtual network control software. You couldn't control a computer remotely. You could control a Unix computer. You could log in with the command line, but the graphical interface and the very idea of controlling a computer remotely wasn't really something we were doing at that time. It was mainly done by hackers. So when the cult of the dead cow released at the DEF CON convention in around 99, 98, it blew the world away because you could now remote control your computers. And for a while, you would actually install the hacking client on the computer, then use your other computer to remote control your computer. Then you could remote control. Then all these other companies got into it. It became a huge space, as well as just what they did, exposing holes, talking about holes, printing things. They went to Congress, they made speeches. And I was there in the room at DEF CON when they introduced Back Orifice 2K. So pretty cool stuff from the CDC. Pretty interesting. Definitely want to read the book. But Beto was with them. It's completely changed my view of Beto. I was not very interested in him before. I am now slightly interested in him. Of course, I'm still with Andrew Yang and the Yang Gang. He was also on Morning Joe this morning. He's fantastic. Check my Twitter feed. You can watch the 8 minutes there. But what do you think, Dan? A U.S. presidential candidate, one of the top 10, was now in pretty much the major hacking group of the 90s, the seminal group. And once again, to try to get you guys into it, there were lots of pirates, right? There were Wares or Juarez groups, right? There were files and there were zines and there was a whole underground, right? And there was all this cypherpunk things going on. But piracy was just stealing shit. You know, cracking software was just cracking software. Sure, it helped people use software, learn software, spread software. It was good. You know, a kid learns how to use Photoshop. He gets a job using Photoshop. This is good for everybody, except for Photoshop for a little bit. But they generally didn't go after the kids. Cult Dead Cow was different. This was like a hacking group with a message. This was a whole thing. They pretty much founded and started and expanded DEF CON. They built the community there. It became all the Hackers Without Borders groups going around helping people, cracking networks for good. The idea of white hat hacking pretty much comes from this, not just black hat hacking, but hacking for good. All of these things Cult of the Dead Cow is a part of. And when I read the book, I hope to learn a lot more. So, Dan, what do you think?
He sounds like quite an interesting character then to have been, you know, in the hacking scene and now running for government. So, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. Is he pro Bitcoin?
It's tough to say. I'm not sure he's made a statement on Bitcoin. I know that Andrew Yang accepts Bitcoin. I think I said Terrence again. Gosh, I keep screwing that up. But Andrew Yang does accept Bitcoin. Not so sure about Beto. I mean, he's very progressive. He was a punk rocker. We knew about that. He was in some pretty serious bands, so much so that like he knew other people that were coming up, and now those people are famous. I want to say like NoFX or something like that, but like some major Rancid, some major like serious punk bands. He knows them.
Nice.
So he's an interesting guy. He's always kind of interesting, but now he's just a little step more interesting. I don't know that that means he's going to win or that he's even competitive, but it does mean again that the generational change is happening. The politicians are rolling over, and that now people who grew up like we did with the BBSs, with the modems, Beto talks about having a 300 baud modem on his Apple II. That's mind blowing, right? I didn't get my modem until I got a PC, excuse me, and it was a 2400 baud. So He's way slower than me. And it's funny, it's the speed at which you network now. When did you get on the internet? Oh, what level? Oh, it was, T1 lines, or it was I had an iPhone everywhere. No, you got on what was a 14.4 modem or a 2400 or 300 baud. That 300 baud, to describe it to you guys, for you can get some kind of an understanding. At 300 baud, we're talking about scrolling text. All right, we're looking at a teletype machine. You're watching text scroll across the screen. If you want to have a graphic, and by graphic I mean ANSI or ASCII, a graphic that's made up of keyboard symbols, basically, of squares and so forth. If you want to have a graphic, it's going to scroll like one line at a time. You can sit there and wait and watch it load. That's 300 baud, at least I imagine, because that was 2400 baud for me. When I got a 14.4 modem, that's 7 times faster than a 2400 baud. Pretty much true. 300 to 24, a little over 7 times a jump. And then from 14.4, it just goes crazy to 56K modems, which were 5 times as fast. And all of that is nothing compared to the internet today, which would be more like 128, then 256, then more like a megabit. Then it really starts to get up there, and we're talking hundreds of times of speed increases where you could actually download an image file instead of looking at an ANSI graphic, and that you could download a game, like an actual real game that you could play, not just a crappy kind of game, and that things went from text to having video to all the other things that we appreciate on the internet. But that's what it was like in the early days. That's where Beto was, and that people from that era who now have hopefully money, influence, power, good ideas, want to get involved in politics. So go into politics is what I'd like to see. I'd like to see more people where you're like, I thought that guy was interesting, but then I learned what he was up to there, and I was like, wow, really interesting. But once again, I'm interested in the hacker groups. There's a whole other group of people that are probably horribly turned off right now, and they think that Beto is terrible before, and he's even worse now, and he's this punk radical kid that won't get off my lawn. And once again, the generational change is happening. They're drifting off, and then the other people are rising, and the attitudes are different, like we've seen with the attitudes towards equality, towards people's ability to do what they want to do. Hackers, people from this generation, young people, computer people that are exposed to the internet have different attitudes. So we'll have to see how that goes with Beto. Just a reminder, you guys give us a thumbs up and a share so that more people will find the show. If you want to call in, you can call us now at SKYPE WorldCryptoNetwork, all one word, or at 1-518-600-1949. Got the phone line. I went to all the trouble to get up everyone that's called us, which I'll update if you call in, but we haven't had to update yet today. It's been kind of a quiet Monday show, even though I think we've been talking about some really exciting and explosive topics here. The Calvin Ayre, allegedly underage women, Coinbase, the biggest company in the space other than Bitmain, also looking like they're in trouble, just like Bitmain. A little bit of Beto as a hacker, hacking some banks in Mexico. We've got it all. Ask you guys, let's see, we got one more thing here. It says, I'm going to the UK. How about that? The Mad Tour is heading back to England for Mad UK CoinFest, Castles and Couches. If you're in the UK area and you want to join us in Manchester around April 3rd, 4th, and 5th, something like that, around those days, we're going to have CoinFest in Manchester. It's a free event. You have to sign up online to get a ticket, but I'm sure it'll work out. It's a free event. You can come check it out. Join us there and have a good time. Like it says in the chat, we're going to go to Wales, where they have lots of castles, and I'm going to take pictures. I might go to Stonehenge. We'll see the Druids, everything. It's all happening in England, and you guys can support it, and you have been supporting it. So I want to thank so much to our Bitcoin donors, 0.005133, 0.01. That's nice. And 0.0005564. Thanks so much for your donations. As always, you can scan the QR code on your screen right now, You can pause the video, go get your wallet, put in your PIN number, put in your 2FA, mother's maiden name, baby's first name, Rumpelstiltskin, all the things that you have to say to get your Bitcoin. And again, these Bitcoin donations do help us cover travel. Airplanes are expensive, trains are expensive, food's expensive. But I plan to do interviews while in England that I'll put on the World Crypto Network right here for free. So if you want to pay to contribute for the interviews, for the tweets, for the pictures, all the things that I'm going to do while I'm in England will be shared right here on the World Crypto Network and on the Mad Bitcoins Twitter account. So
there's something wrong with your profile. It says you don't accept Lightning yet.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I'll try to accept it, but it's just if I have to do it in a centralized manner, it's not that good. That just brings up a whole thing where it's like you have $80 in donations, but now you need to buy a $300 Lightning node. It's like that doesn't work. But yeah, it would be great. I'd like to try at the castle. I don't know if they ship to the US, but it would be cool.
You can run one. You can run one on a you can run it on like a VPS though. Like you can run it.
I did. I had one of those. It went away, and it was a test one. I did a test one, and it's not ready yet. Like it's very good. I know I could use like generic centralized website to hold my penny shavings. But once again, like they're gonna give me penny shavings. Like if you want to donate $5, Bitcoin works fine. But yeah, I'll go try to sign up for Lightning. But again, penny shavings, not good at this time. But if you guys would like to call in, we're going to keep the phone lines open for just a little bit more longer. Let's see. Dan wants to talk about Francis Coppola, not the filmmaker. That's Francis Ford Coppola. Totally different. Let's see. They're fighting again on Twitter. This is a famous Bitcoin critic. She's not a fan. She doesn't like new technology. She likes to bury her head in the sand and think about the past. And here she is fighting with Kyle Torpey. Let's see.
So some context is that her first tweet said, "This is the problem with using Bitcoin. It needs electricity." And I think that Ayre also had a tweet before this, just saying, what a joke. And I just think it's brilliant how Kyle turned it around on Francis to make exactly the same point she was making against her. And it just kind of highlights how ridiculous it is to say something like that. Well, Bitcoin, problem is it uses electricity. Well, so does everything. If you don't agree with, I don't know, fairy lights at Christmas, that uses, I think Bitcoin uses less than fairy lights, combined around the world at Christmas. So it's just another one of these funny, no coin moaners.
Absolutely. And just to recap what they say in the conversation, Kyle says, good thing the oh, we're getting a phone call. Are we? Oh, let's see. It's on a different computer. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Jay. Is this the Mad Bitcoins?
This is him. What's on your mind about Bitcoin today?
Just the usual. I miss Neil Devine on your show. I like that guy.
Oh, yeah. Gabriel Devine. Good guy. See him on Twitter now and again. Haven't seen him around too much. I know people get busy in crypto.
I understand. Well, hopefully we see him again. I really like that guy. I like his hair, too. I don't like it I like just natural, crazy hair. I love that. I love it.
He definitely went with it with the hair.
Yeah, but no, he's got unique angle, It's probably one of the few people that's maybe not like a developer directly like that, or but yeah, I really like him, and hopefully he'll come back. And yeah, I like you guys too. I love you guys, the whole thing. So yeah, Neil Devine, that's my dude.
Oh, thanks so much. Anything else on your mind? Anything about the stories today? What do you think?
Not too much. I mean, I read everything every day. I'm just waiting for the moonshot. It's been for years. No, I'm in it for the technical year. I really am, but yeah, I mean, I'm a hodler, so it's like it's been a while,
It's been tough lately. With fourth, they've got that big bet over there with Leah and the hyper waivers. They say that the bet is that it'll go to 1,500 before it goes to 6,500. So at the 4,000, if it breaks up, they lose. If it breaks back down, the hyper waivers win. Everyone else loses. So not exactly rooting for them in that bet.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'll have my few little Bitcoins either way. That's my outlook.
I think that's a good way.
As long as you're stacking sats.
Yeah, don't invest more than you can afford to lose. Although that's really easy to say and much harder to actually do. So.
Oh yeah, I'm way overextended, but I feel like I'll still have the amount that I can afford, and the amount that I couldn't afford. If I lose those, well, I couldn't afford them anyway. So.
During these down times is the same advice I gave before. Everyone should keep their jobs, and if you don't have a job, probably have to get a job. I know it sucks. Like, we wanted to be Bitcoin hodlers forever, and it was going to be great, but if you got to work, it's not too bad. Work is cool. It's honest. You can help people. You can do good things. There's lots of positive jobs out there that we can do.
Totally. And really, if you just buy whatever, $10 a week or whatever, it really is the best way. It's like the only way to not lose is a couple bucks a week or whatever.
Yeah, put it this way: if you're going to be burning the money on lottery or something like that, you know, scratch cards or something else, think to yourself, well, could I burn my money on this, or should I just put this away instead? And it's kind of cool. Like, even if you're like, good thing is if you want to quit smoking or something, or quit, I don't know, picking your nose, and then every time you pick your nose, you buy some Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Or giving up Starbucks, giving up coffee. A lot of people give up things to have more money. Saving. I canceled Netflix. I canceled Hulu. Stuff like this. Save yourself some money. Get rid of those subscription programs.
Yeah. It's little now, but it gets big fast. I mean, I bought $3 worth of Dash years ago, and man, I could buy a drone or something now with it.
Nice.
Oh. Yeah, I saw a great post by Crypto Graffiti once. He was saying, me during the up times, and it was like a burrito, and it was full of guacamole, and it had extra meat, and it was a really big burrito. It was like, me during down times, no guacamole, hold the extra meat, a small burrito. Like, you just have to downsize during these times.
Yeah. Well, it's been good. I'm going to listen to the rest of the show now. I got to get ready for work and whatnot, but great show. I'll be listening.
Right on. Thanks so much for the call, and give us a call anytime.
You bet.
All right. And you can call us now at 1-518-600-1949 or Skype us at World Crypto Network anywhere in the world. Totally available. Talk about anything. Good to hear from you, coin people. Like he's saying, it's tough to keep hodling when you're down, but if you've got a job and if you've got a reasonable amount of investment, you're going to be fine. A lot of people, you know, if your Bitcoin went up, if it's still up 3 times, you could still sell a little bit and be up. Yes, it's not up 18 times anymore, but still, you know, profit is profit. You can't be upset at taking a little profit. And one of the things that we want to teach and preach or whatever on the way back up is HODL plus profits. HODL plus profits. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Oh, this is Corey from Portland. How are you?
Doing good. How's it going, Corey? Are you in Portland, Oregon or Maine?
Portland, Oregon. The beautiful Portland, Oregon.
Oh, very good.
Listen to the show.
All right. Well, what's on your mind about Bitcoin today, Corey?
Well, you know, it's interesting. So I wonder, I was listening to the Beto O'Rourke thing, and one of my few connections to news is through this show. Like, I don't listen to a lot of this. Cult of the Dead Cow and Back Orifice. It was hilarious because anybody could be like, you could consider anybody who downloaded Back Orifice and used it kind of part of the Cult of the Dead Cow. So I don't know how closely related this guy was to all this stuff, but the media, the mainstream media seems to blow these things out of proportion. And
I've read the article. He was in there. He wrote articles for their I don't know, for their zine or for their group distribution. You know, he wrote essays kind of about freedom and the ideas that he was belong, as well as other, essays he wrote when he was 16 that aren't very good, that the media, of course, is focusing on. I don't know that he was a hacker or a coder on the projects. I think he was a supporter and a group member. But what I really take from it is that he must have been a group member in good standing, because they kept quiet about him, and they kept it quiet to try to help him win his Senate campaign. And if they didn't like him, or if he was a bad guy like Sabu, that guy who's a rat, Sabu's a rat, something like that, this Beto guy seems like the CDC likes him, like they want him to win. So.
Yeah. Basically, they didn't come after him, it would be easy for them to create a campaign to discredit him pretty easily, I'm sure.
Yeah, because for everyone else, this is like, he's a member of a hacking group, he's a bad person. For me and anybody that's really looking at this objectively, he's intelligent and he thinks outside the box. This is a much more interesting person than I thought previously. So, and again, I knew he was a punk rocker. I'd kind of, he was great in a lot of ways, but he gets a lot of mainstream attention. And now this $6 million, he's a legitimate candidate, at least until they run out of $6 million. So,
well, money talks and other things walk. And it's interesting that, I mean, the cult of the dead cat, or CDC, whatever you want to call it, it's like there's people think that a hacker is this or a hacker is that, but I mean, hacking really started out as like social engineering, like figuring out how systems work without computers almost. And, I mean, any part of that brings freedom. I mean, for me, Backwaterfish showed that you couldn't trust the computer system the operating system that came with your computer. I directly gained that knowledge from having that program used against me. So, I mean, it really did bring a consciousness of like, what can people find, like, how can people use these things in these ways that you don't even know about. So I'm going to read more about that guy. Thanks for bringing that. Thanks for bringing that to the surface. That was really cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. I think it was a really interesting article, and I think he's an interesting guy. And like you're saying, one of the interesting things about BO2K, this is where someone else's mouse. And it's just like those creepy computer movies where they're like, they've taken over your computer, you're being hacked, and you would see your mouse move without you, and someone would be controlling your computer and moving your files around. And yeah, your friend had hacked your computer. They put BO2K on it, and they were remote controlling it. And it was also the only remote control of its kind for a while. And then all these other systems came.
Yeah. It had, well, the crazy thing about it is you didn't need to be a Linux user. You didn't need to be a hacker. You didn't need to have any experience. All you had to do was socially engineer somebody else or have access to get it onto their computer. Then it was a GUI. So it was actually more social engineering to use it than actual, coding and hacking. That's what was really cool about it. And I feel like, so interesting. Yeah, you could do anything. You could turn somebody's computer off. I mean, that's pretty crazy.
It was pretty awesome. And like you're saying, it was about social engineering as well as other systems like phones. I remember when I got my first 2600 magazine, it was all about phone phreaking. It was all about social was how to get on the loudspeaker system at Walmart. And they'd figured out that you could pick up the phone and put a little code in, and that the default code was the same at 100 different stores. So then you could get on the thing and you could say a bunch of goofy stuff, which is generally what hacking was at that point. You'd do something and then it'd be kind of stupid, and there it is. And it wasn't, certainly didn't do anything damaging or banks or governments or anything like War Games the movie. That's what you wanted it to be like, but the actual hacking was more like, there's a sale on underwear, ha 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 ha, and just stupid stuff. But yeah, with BO2K, you could mess with your friends, and that
show that you could actually do it, or it could be done, and basically showing people, because people generally don't listen. It's like, you have a security vulnerability. Okay, well, I just changed the banner on your website to like, Al Gore giving himself a, never mind, whatever. So So it's interesting, but yeah, I mean, I think Back Orifice is so into the social side of the social engineering side of things, and if anybody's listening to this and wants to understand about that, look up Kevin Mitnick and read about Kevin Mitnick, because he was like a political prisoner for a really long time. He isn't anymore, but he's still an interesting guy. But yeah, okay, I'll let you guys go. Thank you.
Thanks so much for the call. Give us a call anytime. That's interesting. He mentioned Kevin Mitnick there. Pretty much the movie Hackers is based on Kevin Mitnick. When they talk about it in the beginning, how Zero Cool was banned from all the computer systems and he wasn't even allowed to own a touch tone phone. They were so afraid of Mitnick because they thought that he could break into all these computer systems because of his technical ability. But what it actually turned out, one of Mitnick's strongest suits was his social engineering ability. He could call up your company and say, I forgot my password. I got a big report. I got to send in. Mr. Kawasaki's going to 41K me. I got to get this report through. And they would give him the phone numbers. They would give him the access. And then, like the guy's saying, he'd get inside and change your banner and make you look stupid and say, hey, fix your security. And like Bruce Schneider wrote in his book, Secrets and Lies, like the backbone of the security industry, the human element's always the weakest link. You're going to have the perfect system. Human's going to look upside down and give the password away. And time again, this happens. And like he's saying with BO2K, if you could get a hold of someone's computer, a lot of people leave their computers unlocked and somebody puts a nasty message on their Facebook. Well, you could have a lot more fun if you could install a program, lickety split, do, and now you can remote control their computer and you can make it do anything you want. It was a lot of fun back in the day. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey guys, it's me. I'm calling. This is Alex. Alex Jones. How you doing? Mad Bitcoin?
Oh, I listened to us on Joe Rogan. I'm halfway through. I listened on 1.5 speed, and man, so much stuff. Human animal hybrid. Human animal hybrids.
Let me bring you up to speed, guys. So I'm deplatformed. Okay. George Soros. He offered me Bitcoins. I didn't take them. I wish I did, because now I'm over here trying to operate a mining rig. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And it's really annoying because I'm over here trying to run Infowars.com. If you want to buy supplements, okay? I'm over here in Mexico hanging out with Crip Loco. The guy's crazy, which is why he's partially named crazy. But no, I'm just, it's me, Tom. How's it going?
How's it going, Crip Loco? Yeah, I listened to that Alex Jones thing. I heard him talking about the Bitcoin. I'll bet he wish he took the $5 million or whatever they offered him. George Soros is going to give me Bitcoin, says he wants to promote it. I think it's the greatest thing ever, but I didn't take the money. It's like, well, why don't you just take the money and do what you want? But I don't know. I don't want to get involved. Once you touch that conspiracy thing, it just gets deeper and deeper, and you just keep getting pulled down. Interesting guy, and I definitely check out that interview. But yeah, just so much happening so fast.
Yeah, so I'm out here in TJ today as usual. Now, the only thing I wanted to actually talk about was Coinbase. So I don't know if there's people that are really paying attention to Coinbase. Yeah. I mean, I know people are paying attention to that. See, we come from the olden days of Bitcoin when ethics was the main thing we cared about, principles and all that. But Coinbase is just straight up failing miserably. Like, I'll give you an example. If you were to buy, let's say, $500 worth of Bitcoin on Coinbase right now, which is the place that back in the day we all try to lead people to, try to help people out, onboard them. It's just really disappointing to see that now you can only withdraw $100 a day after you've KYC'd yourself, and after you're also, not going to have a shift card pretty soon. They're getting rid of the shift card. They're pretty much taking away every single aspect of their use cases to the point where I think as a community, we just need to rally behind the idea, not just delete Coinbase, but just kind of run them off the face of the planet. Because I mean, the Cash Card is pretty good. The Cash App is pretty good. Things like Jack Dorsey's, values are seemingly aligned with the Bitcoin community to some extent. Of course, he has constraints. But yeah, so the $100 a week thing, the loss of the shift card, that's huge. I mean, that's like Like, what is the end game there? And then all the addition of all these crappy shit coins. I don't know. Have you heard about this $100 a day limit?
I haven't seen that. Is it for GDAX as well, you think, or is it just for the Coinbase? Because I know Coinbase and need to withdraw not a lot of money, but a couple grand every once in a while. $100 a day is that's like when Cyprus had the 2013 thing. The banks were locking it down.
$100 a week.
Oh, that's even worse. That's even worse.
Yes, it's horrible. So as a community, I think that there's I would not recommend anybody to use that service. I think we universally need to start putting people in the direction of the Cash App for now. You can withdraw. Yeah, you have to KYC yourself, but and there's glitches with the app to some degree. But I think the Cash App is the way to go. And this Coinbase, I'm actually I feel like I'm mourning the loss of the old Coinbase. And of course, we know they're all tracking our data and everything too.
Oh yeah, it gets really bad when they circle back and they hit everybody for the taxes, and we all go to jail because of the old Coinbase or something like that. I hate to say that, but it is a possibility. You have no idea. Again, I pay my taxes. I attempt to do the best I can. I want to do the best I can. It's a very difficult and complex thing, paying crypto taxes. So you just do the best you can, though.
Right. That's why. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. But the other thing I was going to say, just to raise awareness about this, because this is something that I just found out about, was this movie that came out. The guy from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Alex Winter.
Bill S. Preston, Ted Theodore Logan.
I don't even remember which one he was now, but so the thing is, he just made this movie called Trust Machine, and right now is doing limited screenings. I'm trying to set up some screenings for folks in the local community. I watched the movie. I think that it's a little bit cringy at times because it talks about like how everything's going to be on the blockchain kind of, but at least it opens it up to just give a global perspective. So it's worth looking into. I think what's kind of annoying about it is that you have to download their app to like stream. It's one of those deals where you got to download the app to stream the movie. But if you do a screening, they seem really open to the idea of having screenings. I think when I looked at the website, it looks like there's like no screenings happening in the West Coast for the most part. And so, I'm trying to get some screenings going on this side of the country just to raise awareness, because I think that as I've tried to look at different, documentaries or whatever, what have you, I think that one of the things that I found over and over again is that people get really alienated by technical stuff, but this documentary succeeds in that it keeps it sort of at a high level, talking about politics and, global issues. I think that really, is, it can be effective, I think, to get at least people interested in it. But it's worth looking into, though. Like I said, it's Alex Winter, and the name of the documentary is called Trust Machine, and he primarily talks about Bitcoin. I listened to his interview on the Crypto Show, and he seemed like he was pretty good, not a blockchain like let's all buy Dash kind of guy, but it was a little bit, like I said, there were moments in there where it's like, oh, real estate's going to be on the blockchain and all that stuff that we've heard a million times. And, I think that the main thing that I'm trying to do is create a system where we can have these screenings and then get a sense of what is the interest of people that go to the screenings to learn more about Bitcoin. I think learning is the main thing that we need to, that really helps to really focus on, so that it's not like, okay, now how many people want to buy a Bitcoin off of me or whatever. It's just like, okay, here's a survey. We just had this screening. There was this movie. How likely would you be to have, to come to a class about Bitcoin? And I think that is an interesting way to approach it based on our, I've been in Bitcoin since 2013, but I mean, I wasn't lucky enough to get in earlier than that, but at least, I mean, I've been through all the scams and ups and downs, and I think this is the right approach to really try to get people excited about Bitcoin and want to learn about it. Because otherwise they're not going to be interested in all those technicals. But anyway, if you guys get a chance, though, you guys should check it out. It is really interesting. Unfortunately, you can't really go to your local movie theater and watch it. But I thought that that's my feedback. I'm just saying, I think for the listeners, I think that it is really interesting to have, you know, some kind of platform to get the conversation started, other than just a meetup where everybody's trying to ask you how many Bitcoins you have.
Yeah, you're right. It sounds really cool. People can check it out at trustmachinefilm.com. We've got it up on the screen right now from Alex Winter, directed of Downloaded and Deep Web. He previously did a documentary about the Silk Road. I think that's the Deep Web one. Comes Trust Machine, the story of blockchain. So
yeah, it can be. I think we're at this time as a community where I have to kind of tolerate a little. It's like when I listen to the radio, I have to kind of tolerate a little bit of the stupidity, just to kind of, you know, just to kind of be a little bit normal. And I think, and it's like, again, I think there are people that really are good at that. And I think that this was a situation where I watched it, and I, like I said, there was moments where I was like, oh, come on, don't get in, don't start telling me about the music industry on the blockchain. I don't want to hear that. But they kept it to a brief period of time, and who knows, maybe someday the music industry will be on the blockchain. I don't know. I mean, I think that I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me, but that doesn't mean it couldn't exist. So,
right.
But anyway, it was good talking with you, Thomas. Keep up the good work, man. Keep fighting the good fight.
Thanks so much. And give us a call anytime, Crypt Loco. We'll talk to you again soon. But let's go ahead and check this out. Like he's saying, Trust Machine by Alex Winter. It does sound like it's very heavy on the blockchain this, the blockchain that. Much like Crypt Loco, as I was saying, I still don't get it. I'd love it if they'd explain it to me. I'm reasonable. I'm open-minded. Okay, so you're going to put everything on a blockchain. That's great. Are you going to use a coin to secure your blockchain? Are you going to have it openly mined by different people to try to earn your coin to get an economic advantage by having those coins? No, you're not. Okay, so you're not going to have a coin. You're not going to have it openly mined. How does it deliver you the protections of a blockchain? And I guess it does because it still has proof of work. Maybe. No, it doesn't have. I don't know. They have to explain it to me. It sounds to me like they've developed interoperable databases that can be used by multiple parties who don't trust each other. That sounds really valuable. But then when it actually comes down to confirming the trust, it doesn't sound like they're really doing the due diligence and confirming the trust. It sounds like they're mainly doing it in places where they wouldn't be attacked. But if they were attacked, they wouldn't have the trust to fall back on. It's really complicated. Maybe they have better plans. Maybe it's all just hype. We don't know. We're back into it again. We had the previous form of blockchain instead of Bitcoin was around 2014. Now it's 2019, and we still have the 2018 one is going strong. But I just want to read you the introduction here from Trust Machine from their website, trustmachinefilm.com. You can check out the trailer. I guess you can request a screening like Crypt Loco was saying. It says, hacktivist and blockchain expert Lori Love fights extradition in Trust Machine. His computer skills, a threat to the U.S. government? Tech innovators strike a raw nerve as banks and network pundits rush to condemn volatile cryptocurrencies and their underlying blockchain technology. Why are banks terrified while UNICEF embraces it to help refugee children? Award-winning filmmaker Alex Winter shows that proponents of blockchain are already using the technology to change the world, fighting income inequality, the refugee crisis, and world hunger. Narrated by Rosario Dawson. Drive everything back together. Oh, actually, no. Rosario Dawson's dating Cory Booker, also a presidential candidate, not Beto. I wanted to say she's dating Beto, but that's not true. But yeah, she's a famous actress. She was in the movie Clerks 2, started out in Kids. She's in a lot of Spike Lee movies. What do you think, Dan? Are you going to see Trust Machine, the story of blockchain?
Yeah, I'll give it a go. It sounds relatively interesting, of course. Although I was just chatting to a couple of guys, Tom and Liam, who are working on a documentary called The Trust Protocol. And so I was just wondering if they'd seen that, and I think they had. And I think a few guys we know have sort of seen a sneak preview, and said, I think I'll give you the little synopsis, but it sounds like those are quite interesting. It's about a hacker who's a hacker on a blockchain, Ethereum, something or other. Yeah, so sounds interesting, but hold out for the Trust Protocol, because I'll be in that, and so should Tom be as well.
Well, that sounds cool, but the name's going to be pretty close on that. Maybe they could just go with Trust.
It was Beyond Bitcoin, and then I think that there was another thing that came out called Beyond Bitcoin. But
we'll seems like a festival. That seems more like a conference. But maybe I've been to a conference called Beyond Bitcoin. I don't know. It's tough to say. Going back, I just wanted to circle back and read Kyle Torpy's discussion with Francis Coppola. Just a sec. I'll mute the phone calls for just a second. Maybe we'll have time for one more call after I read this little section here. But I thought it was funny, so we're going to go for it. Kyle says, "Good thing the legacy banking system runs on unicorn farts. Would be fine when the down." Francis says, "Kyle, you are better than this. Read the tweet I quoted, please. The legacy banking system is irrelevant in this context." Kyle says, "I agree. The legacy banking system is irrelevant when there's no electricity." And then she says, "So is Bitcoin." And he says, "This is the problem with using the legacy banking system. It needs electricity." So we're going back and forth. And this is just like when they try to calculate how much energy Bitcoin uses, which is another one of Francis's big complaints against Bitcoin, is it uses so much energy. But the problem is we don't have a similar number from the existing banking system. Yes, it's very complicated, but I'm sure that some smart people could sit down and work it out. They'd have to count in all of the bank tellers, all of the armored cars, all of the ATM machines, all of the big office buildings full of people who work for the banks, all of the server rooms, all of the backup server rooms, and all of the backup server rooms, because those banks better damn well have backups of our money. And we get to the same thing where banking takes a lot of energy and doesn't really give us anything, but makes all the bankers rich. Why don't we replace that with Bitcoin that doesn't really make anybody rich? People who have Bitcoin, programmers, people that are ahead of it, but the playing field is a level playing field. Anyone can get into Bitcoin at any time, whereas it's not so much anyone can own a bank. I was thinking about it yesterday. I go to casinos quite a lot now because I'm in Las Vegas, and I'm always like, oh, I would like to run a casino. Oh, wouldn't it great if I could just have like a corner shop and put in some slot machines or put in a blackjack computery machine type thing? Not anyone can run a casino. You got to get licenses and all these things. Not anyone can run a business and all these things. Anyone can run Bitcoin, and it's very similar to a bank. This is a big change that people are slowly seeing, and that it's just a completely system. So I think we should use our energy and our electricity on Bitcoin, not on the legacy system. I disagree with Francis on this. I think Kyle made her look like a fool.
I wonder if
she does it herself too.
I wonder if this is analogous to, or this will be analogous to, taxi drivers complaining that that Uber is taking over. So you'll end up having all these senior bankers, investment bankers protesting that Bitcoin is going to be taking took our jobs. But what actually happens, that doesn't happen because bankers are rich at the end of the day. So what really does happen is the bankers fight underhanded in the background, trying to shit on Bitcoin, like Jamie Dimon and all the others that have been poo-pooing Bitcoin for so long, and yet in the background there's been clearly movements and evidenced as well with the Swedish the Nasdaq incident when he said that Bitcoin was a fraud. So you won't find them protesting. They're just hitting up their friends at the newspapers and spreading bullshit.
We've got a great quote from Chester Copperpot in the chat. He says, "Francis Coppola is an expert on dumb Bitcoin tweets. She has a PhD on the subject." Very good.
Oh,
Also, JSE 1776 writes in, he says, Bitcoin's an easy target for energy usage because it's easily quantifiable. Energy usage of a margarita is much harder to calculate. And I agree. It is very easy to say Bitcoin takes this much energy, this much miners, this much energy. You can calculate it out. And that's what's sad is that's also the way they do their long-term calculations. They're like, well, if you ran it for 100 years and they multiply times 100, and it's like, well, what if we had better solar panels? What if we had better miners? What if we had better computer chips? What if we had better energy gathering materials? What if we get geothermal or something? We have all kinds of options scientifically. And if we know anything about the past, you look at Malthus, right? Thomas Malthus said, we're going to run out of food. Population's going up, food production's not going up. Oh, we're screwed, right? That was Malthus's theory because he was one of these Bitcoin denying idiots. Back in the day, he was denying progress and future. And he was like, yeah, we have to grow crazy. And it turns out we grew like crazy. We developed new ways to make food. We opened new markets, ships sailing the ocean, interconnectivity, everyone working together. We blew up the whole earth. We have tons more people than we ever thought we could. And they're still having this discussion today. Malthus arguments about, do we have too many people? Do we have not enough food, not enough trees? Are we going to do all those? Once again, and again, I'm a Star Trek science fiction person, of course. I think we're going to spread off of this planet. I think that we're going to find that this planet is restrictive, and that when we go out into the universe, we're going to find more resources, and we're going to grow through those resources. At least, hopefully, at least that's what I would like to see. So I think that would be a positive thing.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that it's kind of, it is difficult to quantify actually in a way, because in terms of, there's, you could find out how much the exact amount of electricity is, but that's not, the impact isn't, I believe, linked to the impact per se. And by that I mean, like, the report that CoinShares and the follow-up, the report they did on Bitcoin mining, found that 80% came from renewables. What was the reason? Well, renewables, and especially excess renewables, so a dam that only floats at, I don't know, say one gigawatt, 1 megawatt, yeah, and but the city that's near it only requires half a megawatt. So you've got this excess, and that's why the electricity is so cheap. So there's a lot of other factors that are involved other than just saying it uses X and therefore everyone's going to die. Now, what a few people are pointing out, which I think is quite interesting, is that this Bitcoin, ironically, and this would be awesome, could spur on huge amounts of investment into not renewable energy, but the most energy efficient. Because obviously, if you want to be producing Bitcoin, mining Bitcoin, you want the most efficient thing. It's not like we need to have the most, but the biggest burning thing. We want the most efficiency. So it could actually drive a lot of technology into making some better, more efficient tech. But then, arguably, imagine electricity became ubiquitously cheap and easy. Imagine, just say for argument's sake, it was, this could give me unlimited power. When you have unlimited electricity, then the fight becomes for physical resources in terms of creating the miners. So then, there's another kind of, I think, area that would be, not concern, sorry, another area that people will cotton onto, which will be, physical resources are being used now because we need all the, I don't know, the silicon for the mining chip. So I think whatever happens, they'll find something that they can pick a basic stat on and moan about it, because they're no coiners, not like us cool cats.
Well, and I love their argument because it's pretty much the argument from Infinite Jest, that we are addictive people, that humans are addictive and they will become addicted. So the idea is, okay, there's this Bitcoin, it's really valuable, and the entire world gets turned on to it, and everyone knows there's only 21 million and I gotta get one, and so on and so forth. Just everyone wakes up tomorrow and they're like, whoop, it's time. So everyone's mining, everyone's into it. And the idea that Francis and Izzy and the other ones that are no coiners are all saying out there, they're like, we will destroy this world to get that Bitcoin, and that we will burn all of the fuel, and that we will stop using electricity for anything else but Bitcoin, and that humanity has no choice. And once we open the box, we've got to go all the way inside. We can't stop. There's no controls. All the things talking about when they talk about Bitcoin, when they talk about the energy that it uses, and when they talk about mankind, they have no faith in people. And I know it's very difficult, and I don't know, no one's probably read Infinite Jest, but if you did, it's a really cool book about addiction. And one of the things they say in it is they have a president who's kind of like Nixon, and that there's this film. If you watch this film, you'll stop doing everything in your life and watch the film till you die. It's that addictive. It's that addictive. It's bad film. Don't watch it. And then in the film, they tell the president this. They're like, Mr. Nixon, if you watch this film, you'll go insane and watch it forever. And he's like, I want to try the film. It's like, no, sir. Like, you'll go insane. You'll lose your mind. And that some of our people are those kind of people where even if you tell them how bad it is, heroin's really bad for you, meth bad for you, addictive, they destroy you. Even if you're a strong person, it's not a question of will. It's a chemical question. It's that bad. This film, Infinite Jest, it's that bad. Don't watch it. I think what Francis and these other people are arguing with the Bitcoin and with their extreme argument is that the avarice of this 21 million of this coin is so great that you would burn down your whole house to make it fuel your mind, destroy your family, destroy your community, and destroy everything. And I think just a little bit better of humans. I believe we can adapt. And I believe also a little bit better of technology. I think we can make better technologies, like Dan was saying, at the hydroelectric dams, we can run Bitcoin on the extra energy. There's a lot of opportunities like that. Windmills, hydroelectric, more hydroelectric, and of course, the humdinger, the one of them all that we've been waiting minutes to say, Bitcoin in space, because solar panels work better in space. But there's all kinds of other issues.
And although going back very briefly on your, people going through all sorts of lengths, the theory that people go, well, like Francis is saying, well, you'll burn down your house in order to get your hands on your Bitcoin. Technically, that's actually quite true, because I almost burnt down my house many times running my miners trying to get Bitcoin, and it also did almost destroy my relationships with all my family and my friends from only talking about Bitcoin and mining Bitcoin and taking out all sorts of funny money to go and try and buy miners and all that. So technically there's a shred of truth to it, but ultimately you can say, even if you did say that this Bitcoin thing's just a fad and it doesn't actually have any good real world value, then and it should be stopped because it uses electricity. Well, okay, well, let's remove all Christmas lights because that uses more in one season than Bitcoin does at the moment as a whole. Or the fact that, again, these are a couple of facts from the CoinShares report, that all the constants, the main consoles, the PlayStation 4s, the Xbox Ones, all of those run on standby for the year, but played 4 hours a day, so 4 hours usage a day, and run for the year. Those consoles use more than Bitcoin. So, I mean, you could then go into this. Well, no one should have a 4x4 unless they live on a farm. No one should have, go abroad unless it's absolutely necessary. So, the moment you get into that, rationing of electricity, I think there should be other stuff that we think about more carefully, and not Bitcoin.
And I think the same thing with the internet. The internet used a lot of energy. The internet used a lot of power. Maybe we shouldn't have built the internet. I think these are the same kind of people. They're just not seeing the potential gains from Bitcoin like we had the potential gains from the internet. Look how the internet has changed our life. I can look up movie titles and actors at any time now. It's fantastic. So a couple of good comments in the chat. I want to shout them out. Audio Video Tweaker says, Soylent Green everyone on the planet and turn them into Bitcoin. Yes, that's the way they see it. And remember, it's a lot like Gargamel and the Smurfs. He actually wanted to grind them up and turn them into gold. He wanted to turn the peasants into gold. Certainly Smurfs is a kind of a Marxist comic strip, but you can check that out. I agree with General Byzantian. He says, no technology has ever made solar power efficiency as much a priority as Bitcoin mining. And that's the way I see this too, that it's a scientific challenge now. Make more efficient power, make more efficient mining. And I know scientists, I don't think they're going to back down and quit. I don't think they're going to think that's impossible. Look what they did. They got us to the moon with those goofy computers. They got us into space with much less efficient rockets than they have today, so on and so forth. So many advances have been made. We just keep making them. Like General says, he says, power usage is bad, but you have to use something to optimize it. This gives us a goal. It gives us something to shoot for. We now have this problem. Once again, Francis is not, certainly she's raising legitimate or slightly legitimate concerns, but then after they're raised, we can adapt. The scientists can change. We can mine differently. We can use solar power. We can use hydro. We are not frozen. A lot of people like to say, I've attacked your thing and I've destroyed it. Well, Bitcoin software itself, the internet, the world in general is changing. The only constant is change. So yes, we're moving forward. Bitcoin's changing. Everything's changing. Shout out to Rad Vladdy. His wife is mad at him because he spent too much time on Bitcoin Twitter. You got to keep your priorities. Got to spend time with your family. General Byzantium's called it too. He says, crypto optimizes relationships. Look at this. Rad is having to figure out how to spend time with his wife and spend time on crypto Twitter. He's not going to just stop spending time with his wife. He's going to work it out. And that's the same thing with these power things. We're not going to just waste power forever. We're going to work it out. We're going to think of a better solution. So I'm definitely keeping an eye out for that. I think we're about the 1.5 hour point. I'm out of water, so I'm starting to run out of voice. So I think we're going to head towards the end of the show. There's one more question. Rad Vladdy wants to know what happened to Shem Booth Spain. Why did he go full Artard head injury? I don't know what happened to Shem. I think he's a really nice guy. He did a lot of cool shows here, and he had a lot of enthusiasm for Bitcoin, and I was excited. And for a while there, he started that Bitcoin SV channel. You can go Google that on YouTube. You can check it out. He was doing both. He was into Bitcoin and SV, but now I guess he's gone 100% SV. And just basically, to sum it up, last time, I almost did the Kaufman thing like everybody else. Andy Hoffman got all into B-Rhodium, and mainly on his Twitter, not on the World Crypto Network. But everyone got mad at me because of Andy's Twitter and B-Rhodium and all this stuff. So eventually Andy left, and he does his own things now, and he talks about B-Rhodium. We kind of did that in the fast way with Shem. We're like, okay, you want to do big enough, done. And that's it. So respect to Shem. I hope he does well. I hope the Bitcoin SV turns out. I don't believe in it. I don't know what it's all about. I'd be glad to talk to him about it, to chat, have a show about it or something, ask him questions. But much like you guys know, I don't have that much faith in the Bitcoin SV. So just like somebody's pumping something I've never heard of called Terra in the chat. I hope that it's TerraCoin and that it's come back from the dead. But I seriously doubt it. So I think we're heading towards the end of the show. Like I said earlier, I'm going into the UK in a couple of weeks. Super excited. Thanks to everyone who's volunteered their couches and who's going to help me see castles in Wales. I'm going to see Dan, get to hang out with his dogs, all the stuff. And I'll be doing interviews for the World Crypto Network at CoinFest. It's a 3-day conference. I want to do some proof of work interviews, get some more of those going, as well as just ask people about their products and what they do, and Bitcoin and, blockchain or whatever people got. I just interview people. Then I put them out here for free on the World Crypto Network. So if you like free interviews and you understand that it costs me money to travel there and it costs me money to get a place to stay there and all those kind of things, just any help's appreciated. $5, $10, $20 doesn't have to be a lot. If you're a millionaire, zillionaire, and you want to just buy the whole fundraiser, you can just plop it down, use this QR code right there. But just wanted to remind you that at the end of the show here. Dan, anything you want to say? Where can people check out your work? What's going on, Dan?
Yeah, right. So thanks, man. I so a few things really quickly. So there was the Lightning birthday. Was it the Lightning birthday the other day? And I think it was Lightning birthday. And it's just incredible, just recapping on how massively that's grown. I mean, it was only a short while ago that we were on 900 Bitcoin capacity, 30,000 nodes, 30,000 channels and 3,000 nodes. Now we've got 3,922 nodes, nearly 40,000 channels, and nearly 1,100 Bitcoin. So that's just growing incredibly fast. From my side, for what in general stuff I'm doing, I'm gonna post a link in here actually. So I've been working very hard on a payment processor over the top of a crypto platform, a hotel platform. We're in beta, so we've got 1.6 million hotels that you can pay for in 8 different cryptocurrencies. So if you want to check it out, please check it out. We are in beta, so if you have problems, just give me a ping and I'll sort it out. But yeah, we're not fully live with the site yet. So we'll be changing that soon. But hotel.tripkey.com is the site itself, and we've tested on we've tested all the cryptos, and we're slowly ironing out the minor issues, but largely everything works, and we're really looking forward to kind of a full official launch soon. And CoinFest. Get yourself to CoinFest. Can't say enough. CoinFest, brilliant festival, brilliant conference. Going to be some cool peeps there. Really looking forward to. I'm actually performing on there, or I think a gig sort of thing. And then also on the Friday night, we're doing a WCN show, and I think that might be linked in with the Canada as well. So because there's a simultaneous Canada CoinFest where it all started with Andrew Wagner, I believe. So. Yeah, there may be some sort of linking up there, but it's going to be a great conference and it's free.
That sounds cool. Definitely a shout out to TripKey. You can buy your hotel with crypto. Sounds like a good idea. And of course, shout out to CoinFest in Manchester. If you're in the UK, you want to join us, that'd be great. Just to follow up on the chat, audio video tweaker saying people are full on the B Rhodium chain now. At least Andy is. They might have hired him. I did ask Andy in our interview if he'd been hired, if he was paid by B Rhodium. Maybe there's a weasel way that he got through and somebody's paying his daughter or somebody's paying someone else. I don't know how people can weasel around things. And maybe the same thing for Shem. Maybe he got paid by Bitcoin SV. Maybe he needs the money. Maybe Andy needs the money. Respect, people got to do what they got to do if they want to go out that way. But around here, we're pretty much about Bitcoin. If you want to talk about altcoins, that's fine. But when it gets into this kind of endless promotion and you're writing 80 articles about it and you change your channel name to Bitcoin SV and you're just kind of, putting it all back there, it really doesn't seem that objective, and it doesn't seem that scientific, and it doesn't seem that thoughtful. And we'd rather be all of those other things. But, respect to them, let them go on their own, do their own thing. Certainly not holding them back. And yeah, if you're looking for Shem or Andy, go search them out on Twitter. They're still there. Nothing's happened to them, and then they're good dudes. So I think that's about it. Dan, I want to show the QR code one more time because people didn't pause it earlier, but you can pause it now. Thanks so much for your support. We've raised $83 towards our goal of $1,000, and $1,000 is really just kind of a generic goal. It might cost more or less. Plane tickets are expensive. Other things are expensive, and didn't sell the top, blah, blah, blah. Didn't have that much anyway. But thanks again for watching. We'll be back again next Monday with Monday Morning Bitcoin Talk Show. We do this live. We take your calls. It's very cool. Check out Wednesday. We've got another proof of work interview. It's scheduled. I think it's Leah Wald. So that should be very cool. Very fun interview with Leah Wald. Proof of work right here on the World Crypto Network. And of course, on Friday, we've got the Bitcoin group where we round up all of the week's news. If you didn't miss it, you can check out last week's Bitcoin group right down below. Be sure to subscribe. We've got lots more help tutorials from Max talking about the Lightning Network. We've got tutorials from Ben talking about how to build little things on Bitcoin, how to build like a gumball machine. Somebody took those instructions and attached them to a pinball machine. It's pretty awesome. So check it out all right here on the World Crypto Network. We'll have the interview on Wednesday with Leah. So check that out. It's already scheduled. Thanks to our donor. We just had a donation, 0.00126,149. Thanks so much for your support. Keep it coming. Until next time, bye-bye.